Hello. I'm Matt and Barbara. Who else? Camille, Marlene. Hello. Kathy.
Hello.
Good to see you all. Mhm. All right. Have you enjoyed the summit so far? Oh, thank you, Barbara. Oh, that's fine, Marlene. Oh, hi, Leanne.
Hi.
All right, I'll give another minute for a couple of people to roll in. Then I'll get started. I'm excited about this topic. Like, yes, I've been looking forward to it all day. If you have like a pen and paper handy, that would be great. Because I kind of want to, if you are open to it, I have some things for you to jot down and some things to work through today. So, all right, I am going to go ahead and get started. So, hi everyone, I'm Melanie, and I'm thrilled to be here with you today. I'm a graduate of Amber's Akashic Angel Healing Academy, where I learned how to tap into true healing on a soul deep level. And through my experiences and the tools that I've gathered along the way, I help people move beyond limiting beliefs and wounding to reclaim their sovereignty as creators of their lives. My work centers on inspiring others to reconnect with their inner truth and embrace a path of healing and self-mastery. So, today we're going to be talking about what it means to shift from feeling powerless to standing fully as a co-creator of your own life. I'm going to be sharing the steps that helped me break free from the cycle of victimhood and really step into my power. And I hope that from this session, you will gain the tools to see where you may be giving away your power and start reclaiming it one choice at a time. So let me ask you, who here has ever felt stuck? Like no matter what you do, you're just spinning in place. Put a yes in the comments. I would imagine just about everybody. Yeah. Yep. Lots of yeses. It's the human thing. It's a human condition. So before we jump in, I would like to share a little bit about my path because it wasn't an overnight transformation and it took years and years of courage, mistakes, learning, more mistakes, more learning. But before I share my story, I do want to acknowledge that some parts might touch on some sensitive or difficult topics. If at any point you need to pause, breathe, or step away, please, please, please honor what feels right for you. Um, I'm sharing this because I know how powerful it can be to hear that someone else has kind of walked through the fire and found their way through to healing. So I hope it inspires you. So I grew up in a strict traditional home where obedience wasn't just expected, it was demanded. My parents were they um they were very punitive. They did corporal punishment. My dad was a Baptist preacher. My mom was a traditional housewife. And my brother and I were taught early on that questioning authority was dangerous. Um, so for instance, one time I remember asking my dad, like, why can't women be preachers? And instead of an answer, I got a long lecture about, knowing my place and women are for building a home and having children and stuff like that. And I was like, why can't I teach what I believe? Anyway, growing up, I was told my worth was a future wife and mother. And when I was a senior in high school, and I was like, hey, let's talk college. My mom made it clear that they were not going to pay for my education because I'm just a woman and I was just going to be a mom and have kids. My brother, however, was given that opportunity and it stung, but I believed it because that was my reality at the time, right? And I'm not bitter at all about it. When my parents kicked me out of the house for stepping out of line, I carried that belief into my first marriage that I needed someone to take care of me and I couldn't stand on my own. My husband, like me, carried his own traumas, and co- he encouraged me to convert to Catholicism, which I found it kind of felt like home, right? Because it spoke to the part of me that like, oh, I love this ritual, right? I love all the rituals and things like that. But it also felt like home because there were so many strict rules. I felt powerless in that marriage. I was had to constantly walk on eggshells. I was not able to voice my thoughts, even about raising my kids. And the moment that I realized I'd given my power over entirely to him was when he pulled a gun on me while I was holding our infant son. So I knew then that I was nothing more than like an extension of his control, right? So let me pause here because this is kind of a hard part of the story, but it's also the moment where I began to see how much of my power I'd given away. Have you ever had a moment like that, like a rock bottom moment that like just shook you awake? Like you were just, no, oh my gosh, I'm awake now, right? If you feel comfortable, share in the comments if that ever happened to you. And yeah, Amber, it's not really a mistake if you learn something from it. Yeah. So my second marriage wasn't as physically abusive, but it cut me in another way. I thought that I had found a softer love. I felt I had a voice. He let me say my mind and like I thought it was a partnership and stuff like that. Like it was great. But while I thought I was safe, he was secretly harming my two daughters. And when my eldest told me what he'd done, my world like just collapsed. And I remember while she was crying in my arms, I heard my guide saying, "This is going to be hard, but it's going to change your life forever." And it did. That was in 2019, and it hasn't been the same since. So that was my rock bottom moment. And that was the moment that I reclaimed my power, not just for myself, but also for my daughters. I vowed that no one would ever take our power from us again. And I wanted to be an inspiration, and I wanted to model that for them. Um, so then I found Amber, and as I said yesterday, she helped me more than my therapist ever did. I mean, my therapist was great. Therapy's wonderful, but Amber, like, just is, the next level, right? So through her Akashic Angel Healing Academy, I learned to connect with my Akashic records to retrieve my power across all lifetimes and dimensions. And before that program, I felt small and haunted by my past traumas. But now, after working in my records and everything, I'm grounded in my sovereignty and I'm aligned with my purpose and I'm empowered to create a life that reflects my truest self, not someone else, not my parents, not a partner, anything like that. So let's talk a little bit about what I wanted to cover today. In this session, I'm going to walk you through the exact steps that I took to shift from feeling powerless to stepping fully into my role as a co-creator. I'm going to give you practical ways to recognize where you're giving away your power, reclaim it with intention, and then start creating a life that's really, truly aligned with your values and desires. So let's start with a quick exercise to bring awareness to where you might be giving away your power. Take a moment. You can close your eyes if that's comfortable. Take a deep breath and think about this. Where in my life do I feel most powerless or stuck? Is it in a relationship where you might feel unheard or disrespected? Or maybe a job that drains your energy? Or maybe it's yourself. So it's like an inner belief, like I'm not good enough or I can't do this. Whatever comes to mind, um, write it down. There's no need to analyze it, just let it flow naturally. And then once you've got that, when you think about it, what emotions arise when you think about it? Is it fear or maybe anger or sadness? Jot those down too. No judgment, just let it flow. For me, one area where I felt powerless was one of the many was when I discovered the truth about my second marriage. Um, I had convinced myself in that marriage that I had a voice and that things were different this time and it was great, right? But the moment that my daughter shared what had been happening, I realized just how much power I had given away. And in the months after that, it was really like, wow, oh my goodness, I did that. And that was giving my power away. That was giving my power away. And it was like, whew, I wasn't protecting myself. And worse, I hadn't been able to protect my children. And that realization brought waves of anger and guilt and heartbreak. And it's still something that I'm a little whoo about. But it also ignited something deep inside of me. And it was a determination to take back my power and never let anyone else take it from me or my children again. Like it empowered me. And recognizing that was very, very, very painful, but it became a catalyst for me to take back my sovereignty. What came up for you during this exercise? If you feel comfortable, share in the chat or come off mute if you feel comfortable sharing. Because sometimes just naming it is it's a powerful first step. So if you feel comfortable, feel free to share either come off mute or in the chat. And yes, Amber, I was the smallest little things. I was like, oh yeah, I was giving my power away. Sneaky. Yeah, Barbara, myself, and money. Societal limits to who I am and being able to be me safely. Anger and grief, self-doubt. Yeah. Amber, I found myself feeling powerless to my thoughts a lot this year. Yeah, those thoughts are powerful. And it's like, yeah, you're right. I thought it, so it must be right. I struggle with that too. It's like it just sneaks in there. Someone's manipulative behaviors. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the three steps to shift from being a victim to being a co-creator. So the first step is to reclaim your power. The first step in reclaiming your power is to observe your triggers and become aware of them. Without the awareness of these triggers, we will stay stuck in our patterns and we react the same way over and over again. So, observing your triggers means paying attention to what stirs up that powerless feeling. So, what are some things you can look for when you're looking for these triggers? Is it something someone says? So, maybe, for example, being told you should be grateful when you're expressing your needs. Or is it a situation like being overlooked at work or like me feeling unheard in a relationship? Or again, is it internal, the voice in your head saying you're not good enough? So once you find them, once you identify that trigger or that powerless feeling, pause and ask yourself, whoa, what just happened? What was the trigger? And then, okay, what emotions am I feeling right now? And what belief are these emotions being brought up right now? What belief about myself might be showing up? And write these observations down in a journal, or you can even just use your phone's note app. That's good for when you're on the go with the kids or something. The act of writing it makes it real, and you can keep it and you can see patterns over time. You can say, oh, this situation is a trigger for me. For me, one of my triggers was hearing the phrase, you should be more like so and so. Like she's a great mom, and you know, you're not. And my own mom, after that happened with my daughters, she was like, I'm going to take your daughters because you clearly don't know what you're doing and I can raise them better. And that was great. Um, but it made me feel small, like I wasn't enough as I was. But when I began observing that reaction, I realized it wasn't about me. It was about her expectations of the kind of mother that I should be, right? And even further deep dive, it's the mother that she wished that she had been. But that's a whole other layer of the onion. Um, so what's one trigger that came to mind for you? If you feel comfortable, share it in the comments, because again, naming it is a powerful first step. Comparing yourself to others. Yeah. Yeah, because that starts to say, oh, well, I'm not as good as her. So, and then you start to feel bad about yourself and you're giving your power to that person. They don't even know, right? Like my husbands knew they were taking my power, but sometimes you give your power to people and they don't even know about it. So I get triggered when someone tells me just to focus on the positive. Yes. Yes, Amber, like just focus on the positive. No, it's okay that I'm in darkness right now because even the moon has a dark phase, right? It's okay to sit in the darkness and it's okay to feel sadness and fear and angst and whatever, but it's not okay to identify with it, but it's okay to sit with it and acknowledge it. Hearing how other people think about me when it's mean, yeah, and even people that don't know me. Yes, I give my power away sometimes. Yep. Yeah, right. Like if you have social media and you've got a business or something and you're like, well, I don't know how people are going to think of me if I post about this. You're giving your power to people that don't even know you. You don't know them, you know? I struggle with that. So step two is to reframe your language. Once you've identified where you feel powerless, the next step is to reframe the language that you use about yourself and your circumstances. Words are incredibly powerful and they create our reality. So, why does this matter? Why does language matter? Because disempowering phrases like I have to or I can't reinforces in your subconscious a sense of powerlessness. Whereas empowering phrases like I choose to or I'm learning to remind us that we always have a choice, even if it's just how we view a situation. So we can reframe it so replace I have to clean the house to I choose to clean the house because I deserve a space that supports my well-being. Or if it's about your job, instead of I'm stuck in this job, you could say I'm exploring new opportunities while making the best of this job that I do have, you know? So here's something that you can do. Pick a phrase that you use often. I'm sure you probably have one popping up and commit to reframing it for a week. You can keep a sticky note on your bathroom mirror or something. And if it's, I have to do the laundry. No, I am grateful that I have clothes that I have to wash or something like that. Um, One of the most transformative reframes for me, especially after when during the whole chaos of of getting my kids into safety and myself into safety in 2019 was I have to survive today. And I reframed that into I choose to create meaning in today. I am going to find one little thing of joy and meaning in today, even if it's just, okay, I got to sit for 10 minutes with my cup of coffee, right? It really changed how I approached even the hardest days. And I had a lot of hard days. So what's a disempowering phrase that you notice that you use often? If you feel comfortable, share it. You can come off mute or put it in the chat. I'll be happy to help you rephrase it if you'd like.
Can I just share an example?
Yeah.
Oh, like this is something just in the last, gosh, like 4 months that I found like a really, really, really transformative for myself. My youngest son is 19 and he doesn't drive. And he started school that
Oh
was like 35 minutes away, 4 days a
my gosh.
week. And I was feeling like the biggest victim ever, where I was like, oh my God, I have to spend X amount of time driving a day, a week. Takes
Right.
away from everything I want to do. Oh, I just feel
Yeah.
frustrated and it's unfair and I'm totally out of control of it.
Yes.
And then in a session with my angels and Akashic Records, you know how they like to just give it to you like it is sometimes,
Yep. Give it to
like
you
with
straight.
love, but like, and they're
Right. Yeah.
like, you chose this.
Right. Yeah.
You actually chose this.
Yes.
You could have
Yes.
said no. Why did you say
Yeah.
yes to this?
Right. Right.
And it made me completely reframe it with like, well, I like how much value I have in my son trying to further his
Yes.
education, particularly in a time
Yes.
where his like mental health and physical health has been really not great, and he still was
Yeah.
doing that. Like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
do anything to help that kid
Yeah, of
get ahead
course.
in
I
life.
get to support my son in this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, that absolutely like I'll be honest, every once in a while I feel a little bit whiny that I don't feel like spending that much time in the car every day.
I don't blame you.
But uh um but it also then helped me set boundaries too, because if I have to drive back and forth twice in a day, it's like 2.5 hours.
Oof,
What? It's like a part-time job.
that
And so I
is.
also decided I don't have to do it on my own. That is also something that I choose is when I think I have to do everything on my own. And so I really started to reach out and get more help, particularly on those days where I would end up being the
Mhm.
person who drove both directions. And so my angels have helped me reframe this one. And that was powerful because then I can sit in why I'm doing this, like why I value it and why I'm putting it above other things. So
Mhm.
yeah, I can speak from experience. It's very powerful.
And that's a wonderful thing too about when you work with your angels. You're not like, because sometimes I just get so stuck in the victim thing and I'm like a pouty little 2-year-old, right? It's like, well, I can't think of how to reframe this because it's terrible. And my angels will be like, or you could reframe it this way. It's like, oh, right. Okay, thanks. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? All right. So, step 3 is to take daily empowered and inspired action. So, empowerment happens through action, and you don't make massive changes all at once, right? Like Rome wasn't built in a day. You take small, intentional choices each day. So start small, right? Say no to something that doesn't align with your values or drains your energy, and say yes to something that nurtures your joy, nurtures your growth, even if it's just like 10 minutes to yourself, crying in the closet like I do. Um, every time that you take an action that aligns with your values, you're sending a signal to yourself and to the universe that you're worthy of the life you want. So, how can you implement this into your daily life? At the end of each day, write down one small action that you took that honored your power. So, for example, did you set a boundary with someone? Did you take some time for self-care instead of overworking? Did you speak up when you saw some kind of injustice or you weren't treated right and normally you wouldn't have? That's a small little thing. Write it down because that really reinforces to you that, you're doing it. Um, for me, one of the empowered actions that was setting a boundary was with my mom when she's constantly criticizing my parenting. And I was like, I'm not open to that kind of feedback right now. And with the punitive parenting that I had, it was terrifying, right? Speaking up to my mom like that, like what? But afterward, I was like, oh, I didn't get spanked. As a 40-year-old woman, I didn't get spanked. I felt lighter and like more in control of my space. So was like, yeah. And then it's like once you take that first one, you're like, ooh, okay, I didn't die, right? So I can do it again. And you just build on it. Um, so what's one small empowered action that you could take today if you feel like sharing, if you feel comfortable sharing? I'd love to hear it. If I choose this, and I choose this, if I don't like it, I can choose something else. Yes, exactly.
For
I
me,
think a
I
lot of
often
us,
think of, oh, yeah, go
yeah,
for it.
no, go ahead. No, you go.
I'm just thinking like, sometimes I just like remind myself that like being who I am, like at my core and like being myself out in the world is like an act of resistance and like that feels empowering. Like I just have sometimes I don't have to do anything but just like literally be me and that feels like somehow I've taken my power back.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Like you were saying yesterday when we are like living authentically, that's a small little thing of just taking your power back and like, no, this is me. Love me or leave me. I'll be fine whatever you do, right? Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing. All right. So, let's recap real quick because it's a little much. Saying no to a negative person's calls. Yes, texts and not responding. Yeah, that's good, Leanne. Yeah, I get a little upset when people don't respond when I text. Like, you left me on red. What is that? And it's like, ooh, what is this coming up? I'm giving my power away to them. Right? Kelly, in my case, realize that my doubt isn't real. Yeah, it's created out of fear, false emotion appearing real. Oh, I like that. And I have to snap myself back into my true place. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Doubt isn't real. Doubt is our ego's way of keeping us safe, right? And I mean, it's it's doing what it's supposed to do, but sometimes it's like a little toddler and it gets a little overzealous in doing its job. Yay, I did a good job, right? It's like, yeah, okay. You need a timeout now. Go take a nap, ego, because you're a little much right now. And you're stopping my game. You're stopping my flow. Oh my goodness. Okay, so to recap, step one, observe your triggers. This is the foundation of everything because you can't reclaim your power if you don't know where it's leaking from, right? So pay attention to the moments when you feel that familiar, like sinking feeling of, oh, I'm giving away my power. You could even keep like a trigger journal. So jot down for like a week, jot down every moment that you feel powerless or stuck, if it's at work or if it's with your family or whatever. Write down what happened, how you felt, and what you think may have caused it, because as you go through time, you'll be able to look back and notice patterns, and then you'll be like, okay, I need to focus on this. And then when you find that, you can reframe your language, right? Step two, words are so much more than just words. They are spells we cast on ourselves. That's why they call it spelling. Um, so how we talk to ourselves really, you know, shapes how we feel and how we act. If you're always saying things like, I can't do that, I have no choice, you're reinforcing your powerlessness. And then step three was to take those actions, right? And that's where the real magic happens. Like I said, it's not huge leaps. It's those tiny little consistent little baby steps. And that's when you're going to align with your true self. So every time you take those little steps that honors your power, you're reinforcing the belief that you are in control of your life and you're not giving your power away. Um, so if you're not sure where to start, tonight before bed, write down one action that you can take tomorrow to reclaim your power. Something like saying no to a task that drains you, or something like that. Spending 5 minutes journaling your goals. Something that takes back your power. The important thing is to take that first step. Um, so I invite you to think back to the exercise that we did earlier, where you identified the areas in your life where you feel powerless, and look at that and say, and go through the 3 steps. What was the trigger? What language am I using to keep myself stuck there? And what's one small action that I can take today to start shifting it? Um, if you'd like to share your reflections, come off mute, how you're feeling so far, or in the chat, whatever.
Um, Hi, ladies. I like to share
Hi.
something.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because it just happened.
Oh,
I took a small action. I didn't realize that you said it. I really wanted to be in this group today, and I had to pick up my grandbaby. And I was like, okay, I'm so used to saying no to myself that I put my off camera, off audio, and I have her there listening to everything. And then I realized that there are 2 other adults in the house.
mm-hmm.
Why can't I ask them to take over?
Yep. Yep.
So, wow,
Yeah. And I
this
think
was
as
so
moms,
timely.
good, good. I think as moms, it's just kind of like, or parents, it's just kind of
Mhm.
it's an innate nature, right? Yep, yep, I'm here for you, right? Um, and we sacrifice ourselves a lot, and again, it's just those tiny little, you know what? No, there's 2 other adults here that can do it, you know? My
Yes,
grandbaby will be safe, there's somebody else.
say a
Yeah.
grandfather. He said,
Yeah.
you know what? I
Right.
want to be on this. So could you watch her
Yeah.
for a bit? And
Yeah.
that was, I'm not used to doing it. So,
Right. But do you feel
but
more empowered? Do you feel more like, oh, okay, I can do this again? You
yes,
know? Yeah,
yes, I
yeah.
do.
That's
I do.
that's how it works. It's not
Wow.
this huge thing that you're like decreeing something new happening and changing everybody's life. It's just one little thing, and it's like, okay, I can do it again.
Yeah.
And you build up that power within yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course. Sam, I was
Yeah.
just reflecting that when I am in the disempowered place, my energy is in collapse mode. Yes. And so much lower and heavier. And when I'm in an empowered place, I feel more grounded and energized. Yeah. And you feel more expansive, right? Like you feel so much better when you're standing in your power and you feel more powerful and you feel like you can do more things and you feel more energized and you're like, I can take on the world. And it's not like, again, one of the things I was raised with was, never be prideful or haughty or anything like that. And it was, you're not that great. And it's like, no, I am great because I am the divine. The divine is in me. And I think that was just a way of controlling me, right? And taking my power away and keeping me down, right? So I think a lot of us have that. I think if you're a human, you've had to deal with that. Uh, so I know this can feel pretty overwhelming at first, especially if you're used to living in survival mode and just, yes, saying yes to everybody, right? But again, small, consistent changes lead to massive transformations. So every time you observe a trigger and you reframe the thought and then take an empowered action, you're not just changing your mindset, but you're shifting your entire energy field. And you're telling the universe, I am ready to take my power back. And let me tell you, when you do that, the universe will respond. It will be like, oh, okay, here you go. And it's amazing what happens. And it's fun to watch. It's fun. So, final, because repetition is key. Observe your triggers. That's the first step to change. Awareness is the first step. Reframe your language, because your words really shape your reality. And take action. The smallest step builds momentum. So that's it. I appreciate you having me here. If you'd like to stay connected, you can find me on TikTok. I talk about this kind of stuff. I also share funny things, funny memes, and things about my Frenchie or my kids or whatever the chaos is that's going on in my house. Or you can visit my website where I share more tools and insights for reclaiming your power, stepping into your sovereignty. I have that on my TikTok as well. It's just some fun stuff too. The links are in the chat. Um, and today's session was a great starting point, but if you're ready to go deeper, I have something really special to share with you. My Soul Ascension kits are designed to help you reconnect with your authentic self, help you break free from limiting beliefs, and fully step into your role as a co-creator of your life. And they're packed with practical tools like meditations, journal prompts, videos, all kinds of things, rituals, exercises that are designed to meet you where you are on your journey. And because I want to make it as easy as possible for you to get started, I'm offering a free guided visualization for releasing external control. It's from my Spiritual Freedom and Sovereignty Kit. So, this meditation will really help you release attachments that no longer serve you, and you can begin to reclaim your energy right away. So, there's the links in the chat. I appreciate you guys being here and thank you for sharing. I hope you found something valuable from that and some inspiration and some encouragement. So, thank you so much for being here and for sharing this space with me. Take care.